Hello NR programmers. In this video, we're going to do an introduction to React. So what is React? React is a front-end library. It's one of the three leading web frameworks currently, alongside with Angular and Vue. A React app is made up of reusable components, and that's essentially the gist of React. We're able to divvy up our work into separate units of code called components, and then we're able to write the logic to choose when we want to go ahead and display and hide that view to go ahead and create complex UIs for our app. React is fast, and the reason for that is it doesn't ever actually update the actual DOM, it only updates the virtual DOM. It's a single page application. React was created by the good people over at Facebook, and a really nice advantage of React is it allows us to write JavaScript and HTML code in the exact same area. Cool. So now let's go ahead and start up our first React application.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
So to start off our React application, we're just going to go ahead and open up our terminal. And once we go ahead and open up our terminal, I guess the easiest ways to go about doing this, first we have to go ahead and install the create React app command in our CLI. And to do that, all we have to do is, if you already have npm installed, you can do npm install create React app -g. Actually, let's push a -g right here. Press enter, and then that's gonna go ahead and run. And then once that is done, we're gonna have access to the create React app command from our CLI, and we'll be able to easily start up our React app. I believe if you're on a Mac, the command for that, you would have to go ahead and add sudo towards the beginning. So you would go ahead and add sudo like so, and then the rest of that command. And what this is going to do, this command here, is just going to install the Create React app for you globally on your computer. And that way, next time you're coming over, all you have to do is create React app, and then the name of your app, and it'll start it up for you. So for me, I already had it installed globally on my computer, so it was relatively quick. So to go ahead and start up our first React app, all you have to do is navigate over to whatever directory you want to go ahead and add your app. Once you're there, you're going to run create React app, and in the name of our app, we're going to call it demo React. Give it a run. And now this is going to take well, it really just depends on how fast your computer is, but even if it's a relatively fast computer, this process here is going to take a little bit. Okay. Cannot create a project named demo React because of naming restrictions. Oh yeah, true. So whenever we're naming our app, we're not allowed to have any uppercase characters. So let's call it demo-react. Cool, now it's creating. Cool. Now that that's done downloading, if we go ahead and type ls, we come here, we can go ahead and see our demo React application. We're going to cd into our application, and then once we're in here, we're going to go ahead and write code and open it up in VS Code for us. Cool, now that that's open, we're going to come here, we're going to look at our app.js. Well, first, let's start by analyzing our folder structure that's given to us whenever we run the create React application. First on there, we have a README file that just has some literature in terms of working with the application. Here we have a package lock.json, and here we have our package.json. And the package.json is where we have all of our dependencies listed and our scripts. So our start scripts to build the app out when we're ready for deployment and things like that. Here we have a .getignore file. In the .getignore file, you see to make sure to go ahead and specify that node modules folder. And the node modules folders essentially has all the dependencies installed. Okay, so the package.json lists out the dependencies to be installed, and the node modules is the actual installed dependency. And now all we have left is this public folder here in this source folder. And the public folder, it mainly has some static assets for us. So this here is our HTML file. This is the only HTML file we're going to have for the React application. Okay, it's a single page application. This is our DOM. Everything else we're going to be doing will be working from our virtual DOM. So in this HTML file here, it has all of the contents of a regular HTML file, and in here they have a div tag with an ID of root. Okay, and this ID of root here is what React this ID here is what React is going to grab from the DOM and then manipulate to show everything it needs to show. Next, we have a couple of .png files, so some images that kind of come with it. And then we have a manifest.json, and that's for when we're working with progressive web apps. So not to worry about that. And we have a robots.txt. So let's go ahead and start. Let's go ahead and clean this up a little bit. Let's remove a whole bunch of the stuff that we're not going to be using. But right before we do that, let's go ahead and actually open this up in the browser so we can see how it looks before we remove anything. So to start it up, remember we already CD'd into our demo React app. Since we're here, all we have to do is run the npm start command, and that's going to go ahead and open it up on our local host for us in the browser. Right, now let's just give that a few seconds while that opens up. Cool. And that's how we go ahead and start up our first React app. Yes, that's what it's always going to look like out of the box when you run the create React app command. So now let's go back into code. And again, let's go ahead and remove some of the stuff that we don't need, that we're not going to use for the application that we're going to build. So we don't need these images. We don't need some of this other stuff here, but I guess we'll just leave it for now. Let's take out this logo, SVG. Okay. And also in terms of the folder structure, so we went over all of these except the source folder. So the source folder is where you're mainly going to be working from whenever you're working with a React application. In the source folder here, we have some service workers, we have an index.js, we have a setup test.js for some tests, we have an index.css, and we have our app.js and our app.css. So the index.js is where React goes ahead and renders everything for our app for us. So you remember we had that div element with the ID of root. There it is right there. We're grabbing it by its ID. and then we're using React.render to go ahead and render everything that's in our app component. So we're getting the app from app.js right here. So this app.js here is what's being rendered for application. So if we come here, we could see the p tags, edit source app.js, and save to reload, the image for the logo we had. All of that stuff is right here. Well, we deleted some stuff, so now it's throwing an error. So let's go ahead and clean this up as well. Remove everything that's inside. Save it. And let's say this is our first React app. Save it again. Wait while it refreshes. Now let's take a look at the browser. No such file or directory. True. Let's delete this because remember we deleted that logo. Save it again. Refresh. This is our first app. Cool. So that's mainly all we're gonna go over for this video here. In the next video, we're gonna go ahead and look into components in React. So I'll see you in the next video.